There's no magic, and if there were not for the funding mechanism in Measure Y, there'd be many fewer police who would have to be reduced.
Let me ask this then. So if we put a measure on the ballot that said, let's remove this trigger of 739 so that you have greater flexibility in keeping the problem-solving officers, the prevention programs, and the $4 million to the fire department, that makes sense for us to put a measure like that out there.
Well, it'd be brilliant in the sense that it wouldn't cost any additional money to the voters of Oakland or to the residents of Oakland, and it would save 63 police officers directly, plus another 24 police officers, or 87 police officers. It would save also all of our $6 million in violence prevention programs without costing an additional cent to the voters. So just by that one little word change, we could save 87 officers and save $20 million.
But nevertheless, you still have your general fund deficit of $43 million to deal with. You save your Measure Y funding stream, and that's very important, but you're back to cuts. Because unless you have the Miller bill that passes very, very soon, we cannot rely on the hope that the ballot measure of $1 a day is going to go through in November. We have to cut now. There's simply no alternatives. So where that leaves us is we have to make a decision very fast. As you know, the new fiscal year is approaching. It starts on July 1st. There's a council meeting on June 24th to make a decision. There are also a few community meetings that were scheduled for the community to hear more of this information. I think they take place on June 9th, 14th, and the 17th. And on June 24th, we'll have to make a decision, and that decision will likely include layoffs.
I appreciate this conversation. It's very straightforward. A, we're in deep trouble. We've got nearly a $43 million budget deficit. We'd love for the language for Measure Y to be changed so that we change the trigger that saves these dollars, but it doesn't save us any money from the general fund deficit. We still have that obligation, even if you pass that measure. You save these programs, but you got to come back over here because you got baseline issues that you have to deal with. Next, we pray that the George Miller bill passes. Our delegation is there. The White House has not weighed in on this, and conservative Democrats and Republicans have not, for the most part, not all, because there are a few Republican co-sponsors of, because as somebody said, a pothole is not Republican or Democrat. It's, you know, it's municipal. So if that bill passes, that helps us out. There's no guarantees about, and we know that process can drag itself out. We need to go to the voters with a revenue package. My personal view is that we ought to go there with what is needed, not what is expedient. And we need to go honestly to the voters to say, we're in deep trouble, we've got draconian issues, we're compromising public safety, we're compromising fundamental services, and if I'm hearing you correctly, that's somewhere around $1 a day that takes us out. Now, if best case scenario, Miller bill passed, et cetera, could we then, if the voters voted for it in November, could we then push it back because we got these new revenues, or do we, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that,
We could write the measure in that way. We certainly would write the measure with a sunset provision so that it would be limited duration. We still don't know what's going to happen next year in terms of revenue.
right?
You know, it all depends on what happens with.
So the better part of valor may be for us to look at this not just 1 year at a time, but to look out longer term.
Well, I think we have to look at least 3 or 4 years out because we have no idea when the economic depression or recession, whatever the appropriate term is really going to end. People are optimistic now that things are changing, but they haven't really changed yet. And municipalities and other governments are probably 1 or 2 years behind the private sector in terms of feeling the benefits of whatever that economic upturn happens.
Okay, look, I want to thank you guys. You know, thank you for your briefing. And, just for whatever it's worth, I really think that it's important for people to know that there are people like you who work for this government, who are bright and intelligent folks, who care about things. And here's our opportunity to just talk with each other, to be candid with each other, to be educative with each other, to explore. And I'm just proud of the fact that I have such a high-level, competent group of people who understand what these issues are. My last point is that we need to meet in the next few days, because I'm going to ask you guys to let's finalize our recommendations. You know, there are recommendations coming from other places, and I want us to put on the table what our final recommendations, based on what we think, you know, are truly the scenarios that we're going to face. And because, you know, one of the things we said was we would not attempt to play games with people in Oakland with rosy scenarios, that we would come straight forward and straight up. And I think we need to maintain the integrity of that. So in the next few days, you know, we'll come back together with recommendations so that we're prepared to go to the council with our best thoughts. Because at the end of the day, you know, they've got to weigh in and vote on the budget, but our responsibility is to propose to them a balanced budget. And I'm not totally in love with everything I've heard here today, but I appreciate the fact that it was given to me in candor and honesty, and I thank all of you guys for that, okay?
Thank you, Mayor, for
Thank
the
you, Mayor.
opportunity.
Thank you.